Discover the life-changing journey of an abandoned girl, from hidden pain to incredible transformation. Emma stared out at the sprawling fields that surrounded her small Midwestern town, a landscape that whispered both beauty and sorrow. At just 15, she carried the weight of her abandonment, a burden invisible to those who walked the halls of Anderson High. She shuffled hastily to her fourth period class, cringing as she overheard the snickers and whispers of her classmates. "Orphan," they murmur, sending shivers down her spine. She felt like the shadows that danced around her, a flickering spirit in a world that moved on without her. Her foster parents poured every ounce of love into her, but the burden of their financial struggles was a constant reminder that she didn't belong. Yet every day she draped herself in determination, tucking her pain beneath her worn backpack, believing that excelling in school would be her ticket out of the shadows. She scribbled notes filled with dreams of being a journalist, the kind who told stories that mattered. Then one afternoon, everything changed. Emma met Mr. Thompson, an elderly war veteran with a heart of gold. His kitchen table, cluttered with papers and letters, was where he shared tales of bravery and resilience. "You have a spark, Emma," he told her, eyes twinkling behind thick glasses. "You need to apply for the scholarship." For the first time, someone believed in her potential. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But just as hope began to bloom in her heart, tragedy struck. Emma's foster mother fell seriously ill, the hospital sterile and cold, a stark contrast to the warmth of home they had built together. Panic coursed through Emma like a lightning bolt, the bills piled up like a mountain, looming with each visit. Juggling homework and a part-time job, she felt the weight of responsibility grip her heart. Should she chase the dream that could open doors, or should she remain by her foster mother's side, the woman who had become her only family? The decision gnawed at her. "Are you going to let us down, Emma?" a voice in her head taunted. As she sat in the hospital's empty waiting room, tears streamed down her cheeks. Her dreams felt so far away, yet in that moment of despair, a flicker of strength ignited. What truly defined her worth, the accolades or the love that had raised her? Just then, the beeping of machines grew frantic. She rushed toward her mother's room, her heart pounding, uncertainty and fear swirling inside. As the door swung open, Emma stepped into the unknown, her life perched on the brink of an agonizing decision. Would she choose family or the future she craved in the world beyond those hospital walls? With the scholarship deadline looming, and her precious family at stake, Emma's journey was about to take a turn she never saw coming. Inside the sterile room, the smell of antiseptic filled the air, sharp and suffocating. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she took in the sight of her foster mother, frail and asleep beneath a pile of blankets. The beeping machines and the hum of fluorescent lights surrounded her like a distant chorus, reminding her of the urgency of the moment. "Mom," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. She reached for her mother's hand, unsure if she would wake up or if the soft touch would only cause her more pain. The warmth of that hand felt like home, yet it was so fragile, just like everything else in her life. Would her mom be all right? Would she be the one left behind? Her heart raced as she faced the impending decision. The scholarship application lay heavy in her backpack, its deadlines creeping closer with every tick of the clock. She had spent hours imagining herself at a prestigious university, sharing stories that could change lives. But now, standing in the hospital room, it felt like another world, a world where dreams forgot her. "Look at her, Emma," a voice echoing from her memories broke through the haze. It was Mr. Thompson's encouraging tone, filled with belief. "You have a spark." But this spark felt like a flicker in a storm, fighting against the winds of doubt and despair. The door creaked open, startling Emma from her thoughts. A nurse entered, her face a mask of professionalism, yet somber. Visiting hours are almost over, she announced gently. Emma nodded, though it felt like the walls were closing in around her. Can I just stay a little longer? Emma pleaded, her voice cracking. The nurse regarded her for a moment, a flicker of sympathy in her eyes. Just a few minutes, she acquiesced before leaving the room. Emma sat beside her foster mother, the silence stretching between them like a vast chasm. She recalled childhood memories, the laughter in the kitchen, the comforting embrace after nightmares, the bedtime stories that sparked her dreams. A wave of love surged through her, mingled with the bitter taste of fear. What if she lost this? With trembling hands, she pulled out her phone, checking the time. Just a few hours left. Her mind raced. There had to be a way to manage this chaos. She could write the essay on the hospital's Wi-Fi while sitting here, but what if that made her seem ungrateful? Her heart battled with her ambitions, each side clawing for dominance. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she gripped her mother's hand tighter. I'm scared, Mom, she whispered. What do I do? And then, in that small, silent moment, she felt it. A glimmer of resolve. Her dreams didn't have to be at odds with her family. Maybe she could find a path that allowed that spark Mr. Thompson believed in to flourish while still honoring the love that had raised her. As the minutes passed, Emma pulled out a pen and paper from her backpack. She had a decision to make, not just about the scholarship, but about how to shape her life moving forward. Each word felt heavy with purpose as she wrote about courage, love, and the strength they brought to her journey. Yet, just as the light of hope began to illuminate her thoughts, a loud alarm blared from the monitor behind her. Emma gasped, adrenaline flooding her veins as she turned, dread filling her heart. The nurse rushed back in, and Emma felt the world tip on its axis. Did she truly have the strength to face what was coming, or would this moment shatter everything she had fought for? Every decision she made next could define her family, her dreams, and the spark that was waiting to ignite. Would she rise to the challenge before her, or would fear sweep her away? The nurse rushed to the monitor, her fingers dancing across the buttons with practiced urgency. Emma's heart thudded loudly in her chest, every beat echoing her silent prayers. She felt like a spectator in her own life, trapped in a moment that stretched painfully long as she watched the scene unfold. Stay clear, please, the nurse said without looking up, her voice firm but not unkind. Emma hesitated, wanting to stay close, wanting to be there for her mom, but something in the nurse's stern expression pushed her back, grounding her to the reality of the situation. With dread pooling in her stomach, Emma scanned the room, searching for something, anything that could tether her to hope. The notes she had scribbled felt heavy in her backpack. Maybe, she whispered to herself, maybe the words could help me find a way. But as chaos swirled around her, those thoughts faded like the beeping monitors ringing in her ears. Against the backdrop of the beeping alarms, Emma saw other nurses rushing in, faces strained but determined. It was like a well-rehearsed play, each person knowing their role. But Emma was not an actor in this drama, she was a daughter, terrified and utterly lost. Moments felt like hours as the maneuvering in the room intensified. Was her mom slipping away? Closing her eyes, Emma tried to focus, tried to gather what little strength she had left. Somewhere deep inside, she felt a whisper of resolve guiding her. She could not give in to the fear. She stood up, her voice breaking the heavy silence. Mom! I'm here. She stepped closer, needing her voice to cut through the chaos. What did she have to lose? The nurse paused, looking back at Emma, surprise flickering across her face. Just give us a moment, she said softly, but Emma could see that her mother was still there, still fighting. Taking a breath, Emma decided to pull out her notes, clutching the paper as if it were a lifeline. She could feel the warmth of her mom's hand beneath her fingers, their connection unyielding even in the storm of the moment. I need you to hear me, okay? I'm going to make you proud. I promise. It's just a little more time. As the beeping of the monitor began to stabilize, the nurse turned to Emma. You should wait outside for a moment, she suggested gently. We need to evaluate her. Can I just stay? Emma pleaded once more, desperation creeping into her voice. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, another figure entered, a doctor, clad in scrubs, exuding an air of authority. A calm washed over him as he scanned the room and then fixed his gaze on Emma. "You're her daughter?" "Yes," Emma stammered, unsure whether this would bring comfort or add to her anxiety. "Your presence is important," the doctor replied directly. "It seems like she can hear you. Just keep talking to her." Emma nodded, her resolve fortified. In that moment, inspiration bloomed. She didn't have to choose between her dreams and her family. They could be intertwined, a journey defined by love and perseverance. With renewed determination, she began to recite her notes aloud, transforming her fears into a narrative woven with hope. As she poured her heart into words, she felt the energy shift in the room. As she spoke of ambition and love, an unexpected flutter within her chest ignited a latent energy in her mother's hand. The response was subtle but unmistakable, a squeeze, gentle yet real. Emma's breath caught in her throat, excitement building. Was it a flicker of consciousness? The spark of hope surged within her, expansive and bright. But then, just as her heart soared, a shadow loomed larger as another alarm began to sound, cutting through the air like a knife. This wasn't over yet. What did it mean? How could she keep pushing forward when darkness seemed ready to swallow everything whole? Emma's heart raced as the alarm's sharp beeping filled the air, slicing through the fragile ambience of hope she had just created. The tones were erratic, discordant, as if they were mocking the tender moment between her and her mom. She felt the prickle of panic wash over her, and for a split second, doubt crept into her mind. Would she lose everything? "Stay with us, Mom," she shouted, her voice shaking as she stepped closer to the bed, desperate to convey every ounce of love she had. The doctor quickly moved into action, alert and focused. He barked commands to the nurses, directing them with precision, but Emma's world shrank down to her mother's still form in the hospital bed. She struggled to understand the flurry of movement around her, feeling like she was floating in some surreal nightmare. "Keep talking to her," the doctor urged, strong and steady. "Your voice is a connection." It was a lifeline, a beam of light seeping through the darkness. Somehow, Emma found her footing again. "I'm here, Mom," she murmured, her voice a tenuous thread anchoring them both. "Remember when we baked those cookies last Christmas? The ones that turned out a little burnt?" As she spoke, she could see a flicker of acknowledgement on her mother's face. It was fleeting but real. Emma pushed forward, recalling their shared laughter, the smell of cinnamon filling their home. It was a thread she clung to, weaving their past into the present, a reminder of everything that had brought them to this point. The doctor was still busy, adjusting machines, but Emma felt the energy in the space shift. The alarms, once a cacophony of despair, began to smooth into a more rhythmic pulse. Each note seemed to ride on the strength of Emma's words. "Mom, I've been working on my art portfolio. You've always said that my drawings would light up the world. I'm almost ready for that scholarship. You'll be so proud. Just hold on, please." Her mother's hand twitched again. Emma's heart soared at the tiny movement, a beacon of hope. It was as if every emotion she poured into the universe wrapped around her mother, shielding her from the encroaching shadows. As seconds ticked by, something shifted in the room. The frantic energy began to settle, and the staff moved with more purpose and less urgency. Hope cracked through the clouds of doubt. "You can do this, Mom," she whispered, clinging to that spark. Suddenly, the doctor turned back to her, his expression softer now. "She's stabilizing," he announced, relief clearly replacing the tension on his face. "We'll need to monitor her closely, but you've helped by being here." Emma felt a rush of gratitude wash over her. "Thank you," she breathed, blinking back tears. But just as the room seemed to exhale a collective sigh of relief, the doctor paused. "There's still a lot we don't know. We need to be prepared for setbacks." His words, though filled with professionalism, hung in the air heavy and unyielding. Could she handle another wave of uncertainty? Emma felt a spark of doubt flicker behind her determined optimism. Was this just a temporary respite? "Mom," she whispered, squeezing her mother's hand tighter. "I'll be right here. We're in this together." As she lost herself in memories, imagining their future full of art and laughter like a canvas waiting to be painted, confusion danced just behind the warmth of hope. Would they really emerge from this dark place together? Or was this moment just a fleeting glimpse of light before the storm? Emma understood now that part of the fight was never knowing. But she refused to back down. She had to believe in strength beyond despair. With that thought anchoring her, she took a deep breath, preparing for whatever came next. A roller coaster of emotions surged within her, and she glanced toward the door as she heard footsteps. Could it be more news, or was it just the beginning of their struggles? Fear coiled tightly in her gut once more, ready to pounce. Emma's stomach churned as the footsteps grew louder. Each step echoed in her ears, and she felt tension wrapping around her like a tight blanket. The door creaked open, and a nurse walked in, her face a mask of calm but with a hint of urgency in her eyes. "Just checking in," the nurse said, her voice soothing. "How is she doing?" "She's stabilizing," Emma replied, hoping her words were strong enough to carry the weight they needed. "I just don't want to lose her." The nurse nodded, her expression softening as she glanced at her mother. "You're doing a great job by being here. Just keep talking to her." Emma gave a weak smile, but it faded quickly as she saw the nurse scribbling on a chart. Was there something they weren't telling her? She inhaled slowly, trying to produce a sense of calm that felt so fragile. The reality of the situation gnawed at her, a deep-rooted fear that this newfound stability would slip through her fingers like sand. As the nurse left the room, an unsettling quiet enveloped them again. Emma squeezed her mother's hand, willing her to respond. "I know you can hear me, Mom," she whispered, biting back tears. "What if we painted together again? Imagine that, just like those afternoons in the backyard. Can you see it?" Emma recalled the days when they would bask in the warm sun, paintbrushes dancing across canvas, laughter blending with the rustling leaves. How she missed those simple moments, painted in hues of joy, instead of today's stark and sterile reality. But doubt fluttered in her mind like a trapped bird. The doctor's warnings echoed, and she felt her heart constrict. What if this was it? What if she never got to hear her mother's laugh again? The thought was unbearable. She fought to push it away, to stay present, to live in this moment of hope. Suddenly, her mother's fingers twitched again. "Yes, yes!" Emma exclaimed, tears springing to her eyes. "You're here. Come back, Mom. There's so much more we can do together." Emma waited, heart racing, holding on tightly to her mother's hand. She leaned in closer, sensing something change in the air. A flicker of strength coursed between them, as if their love was an electrical current. Just then, the door swung open again, this time revealing the doctor. He had a serious look on his face, and Emma's heartbeat quickened. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice somber but steady. "Is it bad?" she asked, her voice trembling. He took a breath, the kind that felt heavy with the weight of unspoken words, and Emma felt panic rise. "Let us step outside for a moment." What was happening? She nodded, feeling her stomach twist tighter. With one last look at her mother, she reluctantly followed the doctor into the hallway. Her mind raced with questions. What did he see that she didn't see? The stark fluorescent lights above made the hallway feel cold and sterile. Emma's anxiety swirled, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. "Emma, I know this is overwhelming," the doctor began, his tone a careful mixture of empathy and authority. "But we have some important decisions to make moving forward. Regarding your mother's treatment." She could barely focus as he spoke. It felt like the ground beneath her was shifting, reality blurring. What choices lay ahead for them? Would they even have a future to fight for? Before she could latch onto a single thought, she felt a rush of emotions bubbling inside her. Would they be prepared to face more of the unknown together? As fear buzzed around her, the doctor's words faded into a hum. Emma could only think of one thing: get back to her mother, who needed her now more than ever. "Can you give me a moment?" she asked, her voice breaking slightly. He nodded, and she hurried away. Every step felt heavier, but she refused to let go of the hope that flickered like a candle against the darkness. As she crossed the threshold back into her mother's room, Emma silently prayed for courage. What awaited them on the other side of this night? Would they find the strength to rise above the storm, or would they be lost again in the shadows? Emma closed her eyes for a moment as she stepped back into the sterile room, drenched in white light and the unmistakable scent of antiseptic. Her heart raced, unsure of what the doctor might have to say, yet her focus was fixed on her mother. She had to be strong now, for both of them. "Mom," Emma whispered, taking her mother's hand again, feeling the soft warmth of her skin against her own. "I'm back. I don't want to face this alone. I want us to fight, okay? Just like we used to when I was a kid." Tears welled in her eyes as she recalled those days of playful resilience, the best friends forever kind of spirit that felt so far away now. Would she ever hear her mother's laughter again? The beeping from the monitor pulsed steadily, a small comfort amid overwhelming uncertainty. Emma leaned in closer, desperation clinging to every word. "Remember that big blue canvas we painted together? The one with all the colors of the sunset? You said it was our masterpiece." There was a moment of silence, a pause in the rhythm of the room, and for a heartbeat, Emma thought she sensed something, an echo of understanding, a flicker of life within her mother. "Please, Mom," she croaked, "come back to me. We can paint again. You always told me that art is healing. So heal, Mom." Her voice rose, fueled by a mix of fear and love. To her shock, her mother's eyelids fluttered, the soft sigh escaping her lips rekindled Emma's hope. Maybe there was a way back from this. "Let me go get the nurse." Without waiting for a response, Emma darted to the door, the sound of her own footsteps roaring in her ears. As she burst into the hallway, the nurse was just turning the corner, a stack of fresh bandages in her arms. "Is everything all right?" she asked, concern etching her features. Emma couldn't help but smile through her tears. "My mom," she moved. "I think she can hear me." The nurse's eyes brightened, and she hastened to follow Emma back into the room. "Let us take a look," she said, pulling on a pair of gloves as they entered. Emma stood by her mother's bedside, holding her breath until the nurse approached, checking the monitor and gently lifting her mother's eyelids with careful hands. There was a moment of stillness, a palpable tension that felt like it could break any second. "Another slight response is promising," the nurse said, softly but with growing enthusiasm. "We're going to keep a close eye on her. Just keep talking to her." "Okay," Emma whispered, a renewed wave of hope washing over her. She leaned in again, brushing her fingers over her mother's brow, wishing she could share her strength, her unyielding spirit, but then, troubled thoughts crept back in, echoing the doctor's words in that sterile hallway. What if this was temporary? What if they still had difficult decisions ahead? Her heart sank under the weight of uncertainty. "I just want you back, Mom," she pleaded. "I want to tell you about my life, the little things. I want you to see how far I've come." As if in response, her mother's lips twitched, forming a whisper Emma could barely hear. Emma's breath hitched. "Mom! You're here." This was it. The moment she had been praying for. The connection they had was strong, but now it was fraying at the edges as questions assaulted Emma's mind. What did her mother mean by just saying her name? Suddenly, the door swung open again, this time revealing the doctor with grave concern in his eyes. "Emma," he said, and her stomach twisted at the sound of his voice. "We need to talk now." What could be so urgent? Emma's heart raced again, full of dread. Would the hope she held for her mother's recovery shatter against the harsh reality she was being drawn back into? Emma's pulse quickened as she met the doctor's gaze. His demeanor was different, more serious than she had ever seen him. She could feel panic welling inside her, bubbling close to the surface. What's wrong? Is it about Mom? She asked, her voice sharp and fearful. The doctor stepped inside, closing the door behind him as if to shield them from the world outside. It's important that we discuss some developments regarding your mother's condition and the implications it might have, he said, choosing his words carefully. Just tell me. Emma urged. She just responded to me. You saw it. Hope danced in her voice, despite the gnawing anxiety. The nurse had just confirmed the flicker of life, and Emma clung to it like a lifeline. I understand that, and that's certainly a positive sign, he said gently. However, there are complications we're seeing in her test results that indicate, well, we need to consider all options for her care moving forward. Complications? Emma asked, feeling the ground beneath her shift. What does that mean? The walls seemed to close in, drowning out the steady beeping of the monitor that had become her only anchor in this storm. The doctor took a breath, glancing at the floor before meeting her eyes again. There's a chance that even if she does start showing more responses, we may have to think about the possibility of palliative care in the near future. Palliative care? The words felt foreign, heavy, like stones sinking into her chest. No, we're not there yet. She's fighting. I can see it. You're right, he said softly, almost too softly. But we have to prepare ourselves for all scenarios. There's still a long road ahead, both you and your mother. Emma felt the world tilt. She couldn't let go of the hope she had nurtured so carefully. But what about the treatments? There must be more we can do, she insisted, tears forming again in her eyes. The doctor's expression softened. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, the body has a different course, one that can't be altered. I don't want to take away your hope, Emma. I just need you to understand the full picture. Each word felt like a gut punch. Hope was all she had left. Without it, she felt lost, adrift in a sea of uncertainty that threatened to swallow her whole. Mom needs me, she said, her voice breaking. I can't quit on her. I want tea. I know, the doctor replied, stepping a little closer, his tone shifting to a supportive whisper. And that's why it's crucial you stay strong for her. But you must also take care of yourself in this process. You can't pour from an empty cup. Nodding, Emma wiped her tears away angrily. I don't care about myself right now. I care about her. The fire of rebellion sparked inside her, pushing against the crushing weight of despair. The doctor nodded, seeming to understand. Then go back. Talk to her. Be the light she needs. Emma turned toward the door, feeling the doctor's gaze follow her. She knew what she had to do. Flipping the handle and pushing the door open, she found herself back in the sterile comfort of her mother's room. Her eyes darted to the bed, searching for any sign of movement. Mom! She breathed, rushing to her side. I'm here. She held her mother's hand tightly, grounding herself in this moment. Looking down at the stillness of her mother's face, she felt all the love she held for this woman pouring out of her, wrapping around them both like an embrace. We're going to fight together. I promise. But just then, the sound of her mother's monitor began to spike, a sudden frantic beep cutting through the air, making Emma's heart plunge. The monitor's alarm blared, and in an instant, everything shifted again, darkness creeping in on the edges of her mind. Mom! What's happening? Emma shouted, her grip tightening as she felt a rising tide of dread. Nurses flooded the room, urgency filling the air as they began assessing her mother. Emma felt her breath quicken, fear surging through her. Was this it? Would she really lose her after all this hope? As they worked to stabilize her mother, Emma watched, her heart racing wildly. What? If she didn't get another moment with her? The fear of loss gripped her tightly, and for the first time, she felt the weight of helplessness. In that chaos, Emma knew they were teetering on the edge of something monumental. Would her mother find the strength to pull through again, or was this fate sealing their bond with a promise of goodbye? As she looked around at the frantic energy, wondering how to keep their connection alive amid the uncertainty, a singular thought pierced through her panic: what if she could reach her mother in a way that transcended fear itself? Emma's heart raced as she stood at her mother's bedside, the cacophony of alarms and hurried footsteps swirling around her like a tempest. Each rushed movement pulled her emotions taut, and her eyes darted from the nurses to her mother, lying still and vulnerable. She could feel the panic squeezing her chest, making it hard to breathe. "Please, just hold on," she whispered, squeezing her mother's hand tighter. "You promised you'd fight. I need you, Mom." Her voice trembled, each word laced with desperation, a plea to the silent face before her. The nurses worked swiftly, two of them speaking in low voices while another adjusted the monitors, tapping buttons and checking 4 lines. Emma felt a sudden surge of powerlessness wash over her. She was a spectator in this frantic scene, and the weight of her helplessness threatened to crush her spirit. "Is she going to be okay?" Emma's voice broke, rising above the noise. One of the nurses glanced at her, her expression softening momentarily. "We're doing everything we can," she assured Emma, her tone firm yet soothing. Just a little more, but Emma couldn't let herself be comforted by those words. She needed to believe in something stronger than this fear, something that could shatter the dark clouds of uncertainty swirling overhead. Can thoughts bridge the gap between life and death? She felt an ache, a yearning to reach her mother in a way that words couldn't convey. Taking a deep breath, Emma closed her eyes. She thought of the time they had spent together, her mother's laughter, the smell of her favorite perfume, the calmness in her voice that always made everything seem all right. In that moment, Emma reached into the depths of her heart, gathering every ounce of love she had for her mother, channeling it as if it were a lifeline. "Mom," she whispered fiercely, her eyes shining with tears. "You know I'm here. You're not alone. Fight with me. Remember the times we danced in the kitchen? Just you and me. Let that strength guide you." Through the chaos, Emma clung to these memories, whispering them like a mantra. She envisioned her mother feeling the warmth and clarity of those moments, letting the love wrap around her like a blanket, infusing her with life. Meanwhile, the nurses continued their work, exchanging urgent words, and Emma felt a tightening knot of dread within. Suddenly, her mother's eyelids fluttered for just a brief second. "Mom!" Emma gasped, her voice rising in hope. She watched as her mother's fingers twitched, and Emma's heart almost burst with the sudden flood of optimism. Maybe, just maybe, she could hear her. The monitors beeped loudly, a steady rhythm beginning to stabilize. "Stay with me," Emma urged, tears streaming down her face now. "I believe in you. You can do this." Moments stretched like hours until finally, the frenetic energy in the room began to settle, the volume of alarms dulled, monitored reapplied, and the nurses cooperated in a more measured pace. Her mother's breathing seemed calmer now, a small victory within the storm of uncertainty, but just then, the door swung open, and a figure stepped inside. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Was it good news or more bad news? The air thickened with anticipation. "Emma," the visitor spoke her name with urgency, "you need to hear this. There is something crucial we must discuss regarding your mother's condition." A chill washed over her, fear mixing with the newfound glimmer of hope. Emma could sense that this moment would change everything. What if this was the key to her mother's recovery? Or would it bring an unwelcome reality crashing down once more? As she met the stranger's gaze, Emma felt the ground shift beneath her, unsure if she was ready for the truth that was about to unfold. Emma's breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped closer. It was a doctor, dressed in a white coat, the emblem of hope and dread engraved on his face. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled the room, wrapping around her like a shroud. She could feel every heartbeat echoing in her ears, drowning out everything else. "Emma," he repeated, his voice steady yet soft. "I need to talk to you about your mother's test results." Her hands trembled, fingers still clasped around her mother's. Is she going to be okay?" The question hung heavy, begging for an answer that could either lift her spirit or break it completely. "Please, sit down," he instructed gently, gesturing to a chair across from her. Emma hesitated, uncertainty twisting in her gut. Did she really want to hear this? But before she could respond, the need for answers overpowered her instincts. She sat, never breaking eye contact with the doctor. He took a deep breath, his gaze shifting momentarily to her mother before returning to Emma. Your mother has been diagnosed with a rare condition. We believe it's affecting her nervous system and her chances of recovery depend on starting an intensive treatment regimen as soon as possible. Each word felt like a stone dropped into a still pond, sending ripples of fear through Emma. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words caught like thorns in her throat. What does that mean? How long does she have? The doctor hesitated, and in that brief moment, Emma felt her entire universe tilt. With treatment, there is hope. But without immediate action, we're looking at a very narrow window. A narrow window. The weight of those words crashed over her. She felt the room tilt again, but this time it was deeper, like she was about to disappear into a swirling abyss. Immediate action. She echoed, trying to grasp the reality forming in front of her. What kind of treatment? How much is it going to cost? Tears threatened to fall as she started thinking about the logistics, insurance limitations, medical debts, the fear of financial ruin. Each thought tightened her chest further. The doctor held up a hand gently, as though he could quell her rising panic. I understand that this might feel overwhelming, but there are options. We can explore financial assistance programs. The important thing right now is to make a decision. A decision. The weight of it pressed down like a heavy coat on a hot day. Emma felt a sudden heat rising to her face, anger blending with grief. You're asking me to make decisions about her life like I'm some kind of a stranger. This is my mom. His gaze softened. I know that, Emma. But I need you to understand that time is not on our side. This isn't just about choices, it's about being proactive. You have to fight for her now. Something sparked within Emma at those words, fight. The very essence of the memories she had clung to, the laughter and warmth she had tried to summon, began to dance into focus once again. What exactly do we need to do? She asked, her voice gaining steadiness. We'll start with tests and possibly transfer her to a specialist. I can arrange everything, but it's crucial that we begin within the hour. Hour? She whispered, her heart racing wildly. There was no more time to waste. Then let us do it. Whatever it takes. The resolve in her own voice surprised her. There was no room left for doubt, she would do this for her mother. She just needed to believe things could change. As the doctor stepped back to make arrangements, Emma released a shaky breath. Deep down, she understood this was just the beginning. Suddenly, the beeping from the monitor accelerated again, reality crashing back in. Emma rushed back to her mother's bedside, gripping her hand once more. Mom, you're going to fight this. I promise I'll do everything I can. But within the whirlwind of emotions, another thought flashed through her mind, acknowledging the hidden pain she had carried for so long. Moments later, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Emma fished it out, the screen lighting up with a message that read, I know where you are. I need to talk. Meet me outside. Who was it? Panic gripped her anew, tightening its grip. With everything happening around her, the last thing Emma needed was another complication. But curiosity gnawed at her heart. Who could be reaching out now? And what could they possibly want? Each question tugged painfully at her resolve. What if this meeting derailed her focus? Her heart raced again, but this time, it felt different. The storm had transformed into determination. She would face whatever came next. Not just for her mother's sake, but for herself as well. Emma stood at the threshold of uncertainty, her heart racing as she watched her mother recuperate, the steady beep of the monitor offering a rhythmic reminder that they were still in a fight. Her mind teetered between hope and fear. Last night had been a whirlwind of emotions that left her feeling raw, yet determined to keep pushing forward. With every word she had shared with her mother, she felt as though she had reached into the darkness, pulling her mom back into the light. She believed that if love could spark life, they'd emerge from this storm more vibrant than before, but that nagging message in her pocket pulled her focus. I know where you are. I need to talk. Meet me outside. Who could it be? Would it bring more trouble? What if it shifted her momentum? Taking a deep breath, she smoothed her hair back and tried to push it aside, her mom's battle far outweighing the mystery of that message. She squeezed her mother's hand, grounding herself, strength flowing from her heart to her mother's. I'll be right back, Mom, she whispered, then walked toward the door, determination fueling her footsteps. As she turned the corner into the hallway, the fluorescent lights flickered, creating a surreal limelight around her. Anxiety tightened her gut as she approached the exit, but she couldn't let fear dictate her choices. She had fought too hard for hope, and whatever awaited outside couldn't eclipse that. Pushing through the doors into the cool air, a figure stood waiting. Mr. Thompson. The familiar face softened the heaviness in Emma's heart. His gentle demeanor reminded her of the belief he had instilled in her months ago. Emma, he said, concern etched across his brow. I heard about your mother. You've been so brave. Mr. Thompson, she breathed. I didn't expect to see you here. I almost didn't come, but I felt you needed someone. I watched you fight for your dreams, and now it's time to fight for your mom, too. But, Emma, were you thinking about your future? His eyes held an understanding that made her chest tighten. Of course, I am, but right now it's about Mom. She needs me. Emma's voice rose with urgency. I know, but you can't forget yourself in this, your dreams, your art. Your mother wouldn't want that. She wants you to soar. His words hung in the air like a challenging truth, sparking a flicker of something within her. Doubt and determination battled it out inside her. What if I don't have the energy for both? Emma, you don't have to choose. Find a way to weave your passions into this fight. Your love for art is also your voice. Write about it. Share the journey. Let your mother's strength inspire your dreams. The clarity of his message washed over her like sunlight breaking through the clouds. You're right, Emma replied, her voice steadying as realization flickered within. Her fight can weave into mine. I want to not only save her but also tell our story. A radiant smile crept across Mr. Thompson's face. Then go. You have a battle to fight and you're not alone. With his encouragement, Emma could feel the weight lifting, the dreams she had hidden away coming back to life. She felt the rush of hope surging like waves against the shore. Thank you, she said, heart filled with gratitude. As she turned to head back inside, her resolve solidified. Moments later, she found her way to her mother's room. It felt like stepping into a fortress of love, a space where they would both fight together. Mom! She called gently, the familiar soft beeping greeting her like a song. I'm back. You know what? I've decided to chase my dreams along with you. Leaning close, she shared her thoughts and ideas, pouring out every word like a paintbrush dancing across a canvas. With each confession of love and ambition, the strength between them fortified, rooting them deeper into this moment. The door swung open, and the doctor peeked inside. How is she doing? He asked, a hint of hope mingling with his concern. I think she is fighting, doctor. Emma replied, her voice steady and strong. The doctor eyed her, a glimmer of encouragement flashing in his expression. That's what we all want to see. Keep talking to her. You're both in this together. Just then, her mother stirred slightly, a noticeable flutter in her fingers as if part of her was awakening. Emma's heart raced with pure joy. I see you, Mom. I feel you. Emma exclaimed, tears of happiness cascading down her cheeks. The bond between them surged like a heartbeat, growing stronger. With that, Emma realized that hope had finally anchored her spirit. She wasn't just fighting for her mother, she was also reviving her own long-hidden passions. There were no shadows upon which she would linger alone anymore. She had the tools to express the richness of living, especially in the hardest times. As she resumed talking to her mother, the environment shimmered with promise. They would paint their life together, one brushstroke at a time. The journey ahead would certainly be filled with challenges, yet every triumph would weave both their stories into something beautiful, unbreakable. Now was the time to fight, to dream, and to love fiercely. And in that moment, they both embraced the power of hope wrapping around them like a canvas waiting to unfold. So, if you felt that spark, you need to subscribe now to keep this journey going. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support us. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. It truly matters. Share instantly this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation, because this is how we spread the love. Do not wait not even one more second.